heard feedback from different sectors, including LegCo members. We understand that some electors, because they have to work on polling day, they may not have enough time to go to the polling station that they were allocated close to their residences, so that they were unable to vote. Which is why the EAC, for specific groups, has launched a pilot scheme to have some designated polling stations in the LegCo general election this year. First of all, for civil servants polling stations, with the support of relevant departments, the REO will set up 10 civil servants polling stations to provide convenience to disciplinary forces as well as civil servants on duty nearby to vote, so that after they have voted, they can go back to their posts as soon as possible. The second category is hospital authority polling stations. After discussing with the relevant bodies, the REO will set up 7 hospital authority polling stations. They will be set up in the vicinity of the 7 largest hospitals in Hong Kong. The designated polling stations will provide convenience to healthcare personnel who have to be on duty at relevant hospitals on polling day. We have also set up another category of polling stations, which is ethnic minorities polling stations. After discussions with the relevant policy bureaus, we will set up 2 of such polling stations in Wen Chai and Tsim Sha Tsui, so that ethnic minorities participating in religious activities on polling day at Khalsa Diwan, Sikh Temple, and Kowloon Mosque and Islamic Center can vote at the designated polling stations afterwards. To provide convenience to those residing in residential care homes for the elderly and residential care homes for persons with disabilities, the REO will set up outreach polling stations at some homes as a pilot arrangement. We will provide relevant services at 11 residential care homes for the elderly and 4 residential care homes for persons with disabilities. So that would be 3 polling stations in total. At dedicated times on polling day, the REO will deploy officers to bring ballot boxes and ballots to relevant homes so that residents in the homes can vote. We understand that staff members of the homes will have to take care of the residents of the homes and have to work in shifts. The outreach polling station services will also be made available to staff members of homes.
I must emphasize that the main purpose on the outreach polling station is to provide residents with a familiar, safe, and reassuring environment so that the residents may exercise their right to vote on their own will, especially for those with limited mobility. They don't have to travel far. They don't have to return to their own polling station to cast their vote either. The configuration, setup, electoral arrangements are exactly the same as those of a total of 600 or so ordinary polling stations. Candidates and the polling agents appointed by the candidates can also apply to observe the polling process at the relevant polling stations on the polling day as a matter of fairness. Moreover, based on the successful experience of the 2023 District Council ordinary election, The REO will continue to set up near-boundary polling station NBPS in Changshui. For this election, new NBPS will also be set up at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, Hong Kong Port, and Hong Kong International Airport, respectively, so that electors who will travel to and from the Chinese mainland and overseas, and those on duty at the two places on the polling day, can vote easily. This is to provide convenience for them. For those who would like to vote at an MBPS, they must register in advance and change their polling station to a nearby MBPS. Registration details will be uploaded to the dedicated election website later. The pilot arrangements of the newly introduced designated polling stations and outreach polling stations are only applicable to particular groups of electors. The REO will liaise with the relevant bureaus, departments, and groups for the related registration arrangements. As mentioned above, the new election arrangements cater for elected groups with particular needs and provide them with convenience when it comes to voting. This is to help them to exercise their right to vote. These are new pilot arrangements. The EAC and the REO will make sure that all preparatory work is conducted in a smooth manner, including pre-registration arrangements, setup of polling stations, manpower and training of electoral staff, and so on. All these ensure electoral procedures will be conducted in an open, fair, honest, and safe manner. A human touch is also further added to the polling arrangements. Upon the conclusion of the election, the EAC will review all electoral arrangements, including the new measures launched this year. The findings of the review and recommendations will be set out in the report on election. On polling hours, recently there have been calls and aspirations in the community asking to adjust the polling hours for those who cannot vote in the existing time frame of 14 hours to vote. They probably cannot do so because of work, shift arrangements, personal or family matters, as well as other personal business. After due consideration, we will extend the polling hours. 1 hour earlier in the morning from 7:30 and 1 hour later in the evening at 11:30. There will be a total of 16 hours of polling. The REO has earlier prepared poll cards and the relevant information to be sent to all electors. They set out the original polling hours, that is 8:30 in the morning and 10:30 in the evening. Please be mindful that the polling hours have already changed. In light of the new polling hours, the REO will send an alert notice to all electors again to set out the new polling hours, that is from 7:30 in the morning to 11:30 in the evening. I have already briefly introduced the new polling arrangements and the new polling hours for the upcoming election. I call on everyone to cast their vote on the 7th of December 2025. This is a way to fulfill your civic responsibility. Thank you. I now give the floor to Mr. Eric Chung, Secretary for CMAB. Thank you. As the Chief Executive emphasized once again, the 7th of December LegCo General Election is an important matter and an important event as we advance from order to prosperity. It has to do with everyone in Hong Kong. It is a very important event. That's why the Chief Executive and the Hong Kong government attach a lot of importance to the general election. We call on everyone in Hong Kong, all electors, to cast a vote in favor of the candidates who are passionate about Hong Kong, who are affectionate about our country. We have already held a seminar Let's Vote Together We Create the Future Gala, as well as other roving exhibitions, roving stalls in different districts in Hong Kong. Different bureau heads have been featured in video clips to promote the upcoming LegCo general election. All these are aimed at enhancing public awareness about the improved electoral system and the upcoming LegCo general election. This is very important to the steadfast implementation of the principle of one country, two systems, and the good governance of the Hong Kong administration. We want to let the public know the importance of the upcoming election on the 7th of December. It has everything to do with the livelihood of everyone in Hong Kong, as well as the local economy. We have the election forum, Let's Vote Together We Create the Future Gala, starting from this Tuesday. The public will have a better understanding of all the candidates. This is an opportunity for electors to share with the public their platforms, vision, as well as their ambitions. We are glad to see all parts of society have actively responded to the chief executive's appeal to engage in elections. We need to shoulder and fulfill our social responsibility and cast our votes on the 7th of December. Convenience is provided to staff members by different large-scale enterprises. There are concerted efforts all over the territory. I'm thankful to the REO and the EAC for their hard work. They respond to changes, they embrace changes, and they move with the times, always striving for improvement. They have launched a series of new arrangements. All these are aimed at improving electoral arrangements and add a further human touch to the elections. They make it even more convenient for members of the public to exercise their right to vote and to cast their vote in order to fulfill the civic responsibility. I thank the EAC for their full cooperation with the government. Once again, I call on everyone in Hong Kong, all electors in Hong Kong, to fulfill your civic responsibility to cast your vote on the 7th of December. Please cast your vote in favor of the member of the LegCo. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. It's now the Q&A session. Please raise your hands if you wish to ask questions. Please state your media outlet, and please do not ask more than 3 questions. The journalist at the back wearing a black top. Hi, I'm from Wenwei Po. I want to ask, why have you selected designated groups, civil servants, hospital authority personnel, and ethnic minorities for setting up of designated polling stations? Will you regularize such arrangements in the future? You have 10 civil servants polling stations. How many civil servants do you expect will make use of the services of the designated polling stations? Thank you. This is a pilot arrangement. We cannot provide such services to every sector in Hong Kong. We do know for the specific groups, say civil servants and hospital authority personnel, they will need to work for long hours. They may have to work in shifts, and they may have to be on duty on polling day. There may be some emergencies that they have to respond to, so they can't leave work for a prolonged period of time, which is why we designated the groups for the target groups of designated polling stations. We have also selected several homes for the pilot arrangements. We understand that there is an aging population, and we have quite a number of elderly electors. We want to provide convenience to elderly electors. As a result, we observe that Social Welfare Department has subsidized residents of care homes to travel to polling stations, but we are somewhat concerned about their safety, which is why we want to pilot some of the arrangements to provide more convenience to the elderly electors. After this exercise, we will review the effectiveness of such measures and how popular the arrangements are. For the user count, we do not have an estimate at the moment. We'll try to accommodate as many electors as possible. Anything to add? I would say we have to wait until registrations are done to see how many civil servants will make use of the civil servants polling stations. But as the chief executive and the secretary for civil service said, civil servants are the foundations of the governance team of the government, and they have the responsibility to support elections and take the initiative in voting in elections. I would say many civil servants will vote in the election. With the special arrangements providing convenience to civil servants, we believe quite a number of civil servants will vote at the civil servants polling stations. We believe there would be at least 10,000 or tens of thousands, but we will only have a solid count afterwards. Thank you. We will have this journalist wearing a jersey. Hi, I am from Singtao. About the arrangements for elderly persons and persons with disabilities. For the outreach polling stations, are there any concerns about confidentiality? How can you make sure elderly persons and persons with disabilities will not be coerced into voting for a particular candidate? And how can you prevent some of these residents having been registered without their consent? And if we have actually asked about this in advance, if companies ask their employees to vote and only after that with proof they will grant them half-day leave, is that a contravention of relevant electoral legislation? Let me answer your last question first. We are very glad that companies are providing convenience to their employees to vote. Some even provide concessions to their employees and perhaps even members of the public. We welcome such measures as long as the measures fulfill two conditions. One, the concession cannot be inclined towards a particular candidate. If such concessions are provided for one to vote for a particular candidate, that is not allowed by electoral legislation. You question the confidentiality of the arrangements. With the confidentiality principle, one cannot ask the employee whom they voted for. But if an employee is just providing proof of them having voted, this is allowed. I believe more concessions may be offered in the near future as long as the two conditions are fulfilled. They are allowed. As for the outreach polling stations, the arrangements will work just like ordinary polling stations. So residents of residential care homes will have to go to a particular location or an activity room of their homes to vote. We will implement confidentiality measures such as covers so that the residents' voting process will not be affected. As I said earlier, the arrangements for the outreach polling stations will work just like ordinary polling stations. We are only trying to provide convenience to elderly persons so that they don't have to travel far. one may question whether we are trying to encourage more elderly persons to vote, but as I said earlier, this is just a pilot arrangement. We only have 3 polling stations at 11 residential care homes for the elderly and 4 residential care homes for persons with disabilities. We are piloting this arrangement for the sole purpose of facilitating the voting of elderly persons and persons with disabilities. But we want to test out such arrangements to see how such measures will work for our future reference. Thank you. The journalist wearing a black top. I want to ask about the near boundary polling stations at the airport and Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. Where will they be set up? Will they be set up within restricted areas? If one is not departing from a boundary control point, can they make use of the services of the arrangements? For the airport polling station, it will be set up in Terminal 2 within the restricted area. As for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge polling station, it will be set up in a non-restricted area in the arrival side of the passenger clearance building. So for staff members working at airports or citizens who will be in restricted area of the airport, they can register in advance to make use of the services of polling station. Thank you. The female journalist wearing a green jacket in the middle. Hi, I'm from TVB. I have 2 questions. So I want to ask about the conveyance arrangements and logistics arrangements for ordinary and designated polling stations. How many officers will be deployed? How will you verify the identities of those voting at the designated polling stations? I also want to ask Mr. Justice David Locke. The polling hours will be extended because some may have to travel north. Is that a good justification for extending the polling times from 14 hours to 16 hours? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I will take your last question first. Regarding polling hours, well, we intend to make it convenient for all members of the public to cast their votes. Some electors have very long working hours. They probably have their own personal arrangements. That's why we want to implement this pilot arrangement to extend polling hours. Afterwards, we will conduct a review to see how many people will actually vote between 7:30 and 8:30 and between 10:30 and 11:30 in the evening. We want to make it convenient for electors to cast their vote. We don't want to see electors being unable to vote just because they cannot vote within the current time frame of 14 hours. We need to mount publicity. We need to let the public know this upcoming election is very important. We don't want to see electors being unable to cast their vote just because the existing 14-hour time frame makes it inconvenient for them to do so. Regarding whether 7:30 is an appropriate arrangement, we will have to wait until we conduct a review. There were media reports about travel tours heading north having to change their time. If we find that many members of the public who head north for spending will have to change their time, or this is actually a change in their consumption pattern or life habits. Some members of the public head north for spending and return to Hong Kong in the evening. Then 10:30 in the evening is actually too late for them. 7:30 to 11:30 p.m., this is not a very long polling hour. We will conduct publicity measures as well. We don't want to see a situation in which electors cannot cast a vote just because the polling hours are inconvenient for them. Regarding MBPS, that is near boundary polling station. The operational arrangements are similar to the Shengshui station in the 2023 District Council ordinary election. The details will be announced on the website. Regarding the remaining 3 polling stations, they are for designated groups. They will have to register in advance, and the polling arrangements and procedures will be identical to other ordinary polling stations. We will first of all verify their identity before we allow them to cast their vote. Have I covered all questions? Well, in relation to the counting of ballots in ordinary polling stations, these stations will be turned into a counting station at once. For the others, they will be sent to a triage station, and for the functional constituency, they will be sent to the functional constituency counting station, and for the election committee, they will be sent to the Hong Kong CEC. This is our arrangement for the sorting stations. Thank you. The report over there. Thank you. I'm from Now TV. For the District Council ordinary election, there was a technical problem in relation to the electronic poll register system, that is EPR system. How are you going to prevent similar incidents from happening again? Regarding the voter turnout, is it your goal to exceed the figure last time, that is 30.2%? Well, regarding the EPR system, we have already conducted a review and we have enhanced the procedures, including verification, vetting, as well as the relevant working group headed by Mr. Bernard Chen, SC. They have actually worked on this system, and we are confident about it. The Mission Critical System Development and Maintenance Board has conducted a full review. That's why we have trust in the EPR system. Regarding turnout, the EAC doesn't have any indicator whatsoever. The mission of the EAC is that we need to hold an election that is honest, open, and fair. Of course, it'd be the best if we can add a further human touch, and this is exactly our goal this time. As we mentioned in the kickoff ceremony, we will tie in with government publicity measures. We don't want to see a situation in which people want to fulfill their civic responsibilities but cannot do so just because the time isn't convenient for them. That's exactly why we have decided to extend polling hours. If someone has long working hours but doesn't belong to a particular group, when the polling hours are extended, definitely this will help. We will conduct a review afterwards. If we think that these measures aren't very effective after our review, we may not regularize them. But we will pilot these arrangements in the upcoming election. We will also use the figures we will collect in the upcoming election to fine-tune or to refine our future arrangements. Mr. Eric Zhang. Voter turnout is subject to a lot of different factors. To be practical, we don't have any hard and fast indicator. That being said, we have always said that the election is very important to Hong Kong. It is very important to the well-being of everyone in Hong Kong, as well as to the good governance of the Hong Kong government. We need to let the public know the importance of this election to them so that everyone in Hong Kong will cast their vote in favor of the LegCo member that they want to represent them. We don't have any hard and fast figure. However, we do have a goal, that is, the higher the voter turnout, the better. We want all electors to cast their vote. This is our ultimate goal. Thank you. Next question. The lady over there. Good afternoon. I'm from Cable TV. I'd like to ask about the CSPS. do civil servants need to register before they can vote at the dedicated or designated polling station? If registration isn't required, are you worried that there are any duplicate votes? Do you have any target registration rate in relation to outreach polling station? In relation to NBPS, the highest number of registration was 38,000, and 5 days before that, there would be the deadline of registration. Are you going to allow even more time? Thank you. Well, I will ask Ms. Natalie Chan, Chief Electoral Officer, to take this question. I may provide more information afterwards if need be. Thank you for your questions regarding the designated polling station and outreach polling station. Pre-registration is required. That is because we need to make sure that there won't be duplicate votes. We will need to check the voter register. Regarding the registration time of NBPS, we will use the registration arrangement used in the District Council ordinary election last time. That is 5 days before the deadline. This is the arrangement. Next question.
From SMP. So first, for the special polling station earmarked for civil servants to vote, because only civil servants can vote there, will this allow the government to monitor whether they cast their ballots? And secondly, there were calls in the past to shorten the voting time, and the authorities did listen to those calls and shorten it. So why this time you choose to prolong the voting time again? Is this simply aimed to boost the voters' turnout, and was that a mistake to shorten the voting time in the past? And finally, is there any extra expenditure for all these new measures? Thank you.
I think to answer your designated voting, I think the main purpose of the designated polling station is to facilitate civil servants who has to be on duty for a long period of time to cast a vote. And of course, they usually have to attend to their duties. So that's why, and they also have to face all kind of emergency if that happens. So they cannot leave their working place for too long, post for too long. So that's why we have this kind of designated polling station for the civil servants. I noticed that the government has adopted a stance that voting is entirely voluntary. So in a way, this is very important, so that no civil servants will be forced to vote. So I think if the government adhere to these principles, I don't think there's any problem with that. In relation to the new measures, I think these new measures would, I think, inevitably will lead to some extra expenses. But I don't think at this stage we are able to give you any details about the extra expenses. But on the other hand, we will certainly, because public purse are involved, we certainly will see that no money would be wasted on unnecessary expenses. I think I missed your last question.
The second one.
The second?
The shortening.
Shortening the time. Now, I think I did mention that we have the voting hour or the length of the voting hours deserve some consideration. I did mention this in the past. But on the other hand, we have to take into account what really happened to the living habits of the people in Hong Kong. I mean, it's a practical thing that there are many people, Hong Kong, crossing the border during weekends to either for travel to somewhere else to the